Well, another kind of football is going to be played tonight that is going to be just crazy. And I thought to get us there, we're talking about the Argos and the Ticats. So a natural hatred, which is awesome. Sports should be played when you don't like the other guys. This was captured years ago. This is like early 2000. I think it was like 2000, 2001. I'm not sure who the agency was who did this, but let's start with the Hamilton-Toronto rivalry ads that they used to run. And I thought, in light of tonight's game, this would be perfect to run. This is one of my favorites. Once again, rivalry ads.
Ugh, what's that smell? Oh, it's you, Hamilton. You stink! See, now, Toronto is a major city. We have the Argos. We're winners. You have the Ticats. You're losers. I'm from Hamilton. I'm a steel worker. I like football.
CFL, the rivalry lives on.
How many O's are there in loser?
That. I'm not sure who the agency was, but those were awesome. Though it just brings out also the fun of it too, because the one thing about the CFL is if you go to a Grey Cup, it's just a giant love-in. It's a field party, if you want, a bush party, depending on the part of the country you're from. It's not like the Super Bowl. It's not all executive and corporate and glass and chrome. It's very much just people who just love the game, and you're going to see a lot of those people tonight, I would say, my friend. A lot of people.
It'll be an interesting atmosphere tonight, for sure.
So you're being humble. You gotta start taking credit for stuff. I mean, the ESPNs, Fox, NFL Live. They are. You had Eric Mangini talking about the depth chart of the Hamilton Tiger Cats in camp. Okay, that's a first.
Well, I can honestly tell you, I totally understand all the excitement and everything else. I could tell you that we as a group are really excited to get to see Jeremiah and the first team offense get out there tonight. I think Jeremiah did an outstanding job last year, and he's got a real great rapport and relationship with June. And I think we're really excited to see Jeremiah after a full off season and a full training camp under June. And I think June the other day was talking about Jeremiah's had as good a training camp as he's ever seen. And then obviously we're going to see Johnny tonight. And I've been down for probably half the camp, and he's done great. I mean, he's obviously, when you watch practice, you see Johnny Manziel. That's what you're seeing. And he's, it's obviously a new game to some degree to him, new rules, a bunch of different machinations he's not used to. But he's had a great camp, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight for sure.
Now, Jeremiah is, if for his own history, is used to coming in and having to compete. I mean, this is not new from him. You go from Oregon, you go to Ole Miss. I mean, this is something that kind of sparks him a little bit. And when I look at the Ticats down the last half of the season where he's the starting quarterback, if Hamilton had got into the playoffs somehow, I don't think anyone wanted to play the Hamilton Tiger Cats last year. I'm not so sure that they don't go to a Grey Cup if they get in, because they were your team was very motivated, and I think now they're sort of extra motivated. So I don't think competition is necessarily a bad thing. Some coaches have different philosophies, how they want to see their quarterbacks. But if we're talking about June Jones, what he sees from both guys, is he liking what he's seeing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think for sure. I think he's been surprised a little bit by how quickly Johnny's picked it up. But of course, as he always says, June has got he's got a lot of great sayings, to be honest with you. But one is, there's two kind of quarterbacks: those who show up on the lights and those who don't. And I think obviously, look, Johnny's had an unbelievable career as one of the best college football players of all time, and I suspect he'll play well tonight. But it's a process. I mean, it's going to take him a long time. I know, Mike, you know this, and Dave. I mean, when Doug Flutie came up here, and I'm not comparing those two at all.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm using an example of a quarterback who is a legendary, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in our league. Doug threw more interceptions than touchdowns his first year, and I remember Doug extremely well when he went to BC. So it takes a while. Look at Jeremiah. Jeremiah, it's been up in this league for 5 or 6 years now, and it's taken a while to be that guy that is a solid, established starter with what we think has a chance to have a great year.
We've gotten a couple questions about it on Twitter, Scott, and I'll ask you. I don't think you would actually know the answer, but just in case you've heard it, how long will Johnny play tonight? Is there any indication on it, or has June and the coaching staff hinted on it? Is a 3 sets of downs? Is it a quarter? Is it a half?
You know what? I saw June briefly yesterday, but I try not to distract him too much during the day. I know what I listen to on the.
Yeah.
I'm like everyone else. I watch June's press scrum and I
Yes,
find out stuff.
yes.
I think he was talking about sets of 15 plays.
Okay,
So I think what he wants to do, he's talked about this very publicly. He wants Jeremiah to get out there with the first team. Have a good couple series. Ideally, get a score on the board, and then I think he's gonna let Jeremiah watch the rest of the game and kind of hang out with the coaches a little bit, and then Johnny's going to go in, and whether he gets 15 or 30 plays, I'm not so sure. You have about 65,
Sure.
70 plays in a game. So
we might see 3-4 quarterbacks tonight.
yeah, I think you'll probably see at least 3, maybe 4. But I suspect Johnny will have a chance to play a quarter and a half,
Yeah.
and depending how it goes, we'll see.
Well, the other thing too is we've had Jerry Glanville on the show, and when you know how Jerry likes to play defense, I'm not saying he doesn't know zones. He just prefers to play man and be very, very aggressive. And I saw some reports from camp and just trying to keep the boys down. It's your own quarterback. Let's just try not to do that. But I got a feeling people who have not seen Jerry Glanville defense, you're going to notice a difference because they're going to get after people. I know it's preseason, but I bet you he's just been raring to go at this thing.
You know what? It's been a great pleasure to get to know Jerry. He was obviously at camp last year. Maybe people don't know that, but he came out to camp last year, made a great impression on us. And I think, the reality is that Jerry, he's got a big persona himself for good reason, and he likes to have a persona. And he's an awesome guy. He's just a terrific guy. But I think what gets lost is that he's known as an outstanding defensive coach. There's a reason why you're a multiple-time head coach in the NFL. His teams have set all sorts of records on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's great to watch him on the field. You understand why his players play with the enthusiasm and the aggression they do, for sure. I don't think you're going to see a lot tonight out of Jerry's defense in terms of pressure and different looks. I think we've got a bunch of young DBs that we're really, really high on, and I think he's excited to see what they can do and how solid they are scheme-wise tonight and assignment-wise. But I think when come the regular season, I think you're probably going to see a pretty aggressive defense, no doubt about it.
Well, and as we know, if you're coming up and playing American ball and you've got to play on the corner, that field, it just is so shockingly. It must seem like a province, an entire state when they're out there. And I know that, it's sort of muscle memory, even talking about, Johnny and just what an out route, what an out feels like to him. That muscle memory tells you that certain torque means that's where the ball's going. But then there's another 10 or 15 yards out there. That's tough.
We had a guy in Hamilton, Cassius Vaughn, who's gone on to have a good career with the Argos. Had a big play in the Grey Cup last year, and Cassius is a good player. We definitely shouldn't let him walk up the street here, but he came up and I used him as an example, but you could see he was obviously going to be a great player, but he was just struggling with where the boundary was, and he'd think he was on a guy, and all of a sudden the quarterback would throw it behind his head, and he thinks he's using the boundary, as a lock for himself to shield the guy, and there's another 5-8 yards. The guy drifts out, catches the ball. So it's tough, and the halfbacks, I think, really, it's a big difference for the halfbacks. They have a hard time with distance and seeing where the ball is coming out of the quarterback's hands. So just all about getting them some snaps and experience and seeing what they could do.
We've heard a couple of the American reports on it, and I'd love to get it right from the source. Have you noticed, at headquarters that, the city is kind of at a buzz at a Johnny Manziel pace where there's jerseys being purchased. Everybody wants to get a piece of this. I know that we've talked to Steve Milton just last week about it. The amount of crowd attending practices has raised significantly from last year and so forth. Are you guys feeling that in the front office as well, that there's a little bit of a buzz and now maybe more of an expectation on what number 2 can do?
I think it's been a busy spring, Dave, to be honest with you. So I think there's a lot of, you said this yesterday, there's a lot of wind in our sails right now. I mean, we had a great day yesterday getting our settlement and lawsuit resolved with the stadium at Tim Hortons Field, which is great for us. We got 2 big events at Tim Hortons Field this month. Sold out Arkell show in their hometown, and a big sold out women's national team game. We just today actually we're showcasing for the first time, debuting the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, moving to Tim Hortons Field. And I think coming off last year with June and all the signings we made in the offseason, there's been a lot of noise around, and positive noise around the team. And then you have the addition of Johnny that obviously, no question, created a buzz for sure. I think it'll be it'll be interesting to see how it plays itself out. I mean, there's no question there's a buzz, but really the buzz in Hamilton really starts and ends with how the team plays at the end of the day.
Correct.
And obviously, we'd like to. We got a tough schedule coming out of the gates here with Calgary and Edmonton on the road, but for us, if we can get some wins early on and take advantage of this momentum, I think it'll be got a chance to have a great summer.
Yeah, I think you also have to give, and I'm just speaking, as those looking at what Hamilton has done as an organization, like a lot of credit, because when you look at historically what has happened to this league when certain players do jump up, it can get carried away. It's why people first want to say that it's going to turn into a circus, that it is a PR stunt. Quite frankly, it's been none of those things. Now, there has been obviously a lot of attention. If you want to say it's circus-like, you can't help it if there's a popularity to it. But I think in the low-key manner in which from the top on down have handled the business of football, in that way, it's been business as usual. And I don't think that's an easy thing to do. So I think your staff deserves a lot of credit, including yourself, on making sure that it just wasn't the Johnny Manziel show. Because quite frankly, from the football perspective, as you mentioned, Jeremiah Masoli is going to start. He is the starter. You have certain things you need done on the team. It's just not about Johnny. I think you deserve some credit on that.
Well, I think we're very lucky to have June Jones. June is a very interesting cat and a great guy, very cool dude. And at the end of the day, it came down to, can Johnny help us win football games? And the answer was unequivocal for sure. I think if Jeremiah plays the way he's capable of playing, and obviously Johnny continues to improve and gets to know the game, and we're very capable of having the best quarterback duo in the league. There's no question about it, and that's exciting for us. And you need a couple quarterbacks in this league for sure. So we're thrilled to have him, and but I think for him it's important. Everybody understands. It's a day-to-day, week-to-week process with him. He's got to keep working hard and committing himself. And certainly if the first couple weeks is indicative of anything, he's certainly on the right track.
Before we go, I just wanted to get one more rivalry video in. I still remember the Rider versus Winnipeg. That's the one I want to show because, again, I'm not sure how long these circulated, but I thought the work on it was really good. So here's another rivalry ad. This is how the Riders feel about the Blue Bombers.
Who would want to live in a semi-frozen, mosquito-infested backwater like Winnipeg? You stink! And the stench is beginning to rub off on your loser pig poo bombers! Maybe your football team will leave town too after the Rough Riders kick your butt!
CFL, the rivalry lives on.
Riders rule!
That's great stuff. In the league, I think right now has a lot of great feelings about everything that's going on. Like I said going into this before Johnny's stuff is the fact that I think the teams are going to be better. I think it's going to be more competitive. I think although Ottawa's probably a little nervous with Trevor Harris last night, that was a little scary. Drew Willie I thought looked pretty good for the Alouettes, but you look at what Toronto's got, former defending champions, you see what's happening in Hamilton. I mean, it's going to be a real track meet out west. I mean, you've got Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. With Zach playing out there is going to be a better team. I'm not sure what BC is going to do, but it is the West, so you never quite know. This is going to be, I think, one of the better years, I think, for the CFL in terms of competition and in terms of, I think, just the actual content of the game, the X's and O's. I think it's going to be excellent.
I have no comment other than to say you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Mike. I totally agree.
Oh, well, then I guess it's time to buy Mike a drink.
What?
We just become best friends?
Yup!